So, welcome to Laguna Seca. Don't think I have to say too much about the track. Sure, there's a reason why you watch this video. One thing I would like to mention is if you are already familiar with track driving and maybe you drove in Buttonwillow, Thunderhill, Streets of Willow, or any of these tracks where you can go really fast and if you go off track, not much happens to your car. Well, Laguna Seca is a bit different. In Laguna Seca, almost everywhere there are walls close by. So if you got a little bit tolerant to going off track in Laguna Seca, you might think twice, because if you screw up, you can actually do some serious damage to your car. And the turns where this is really evident, I will point out to you. So just a little bit of an explanation how the format will be that I will show you. So I always will first talk about each turn in theory on a track map, and then you will see the same turn taken in my car with me as an in-car video. To make your navigation a little bit easier, you will see the things that I just highlighted in the screenshot. If you look at the lower part of the screen, you will always see a track map, and the green dot will indicate where we are. You will see speedometer. It means you know how fast I go in my car at this point, and also if I shift up or shift down, I added some markers. And of course, shift up and shift down is very relative to when I do this in my car. So obviously all the speed and all the shift points and everything else is depending on which car you take. I obviously cannot know in which car you're driving, so I'll let you just know which car I'm driving. I'm driving a 2002 Boxster S, has 250 horsepower, is completely unmodified. That means absolutely street. And just telling you that so you have an idea how this might work in relationship to your car. So let's go. So let's get started with one lap around Laguna Seca. And first thing, obviously, we start with the main straight and turn one. Well, turn one really isn't a turn, it's just a little kink in the road, and you can probably take it flat out. So let's hope you really did a good exit out of turn 11. You really need a lot of torque and a lot of speed and a lot of horsepower because you're going uphill until to a little, please, okay, until to a little kink in the road here. Challenge here is, exactly at the moment when you hit this, it's blind. So initially I said you need a torque and horsepower. Over there you need a lot of guts. I always need a few laps before I no longer lift on this part of the track. Well, let's see how long it takes you. About here, when you approach the little bridge over the start-finish line, which by the way also serves as a flag station, you should shoot for going there around where this Z in the Mazda is. Then between the A and the C, then I think you got your line pretty much right. So let's get ready for turn two. Turn two is too wide to be called a hairpin and too tight to be called a sweeper. So not exactly sure what to call it, but what it definitely is, it's a patience turn. You will need to do a very, very, very late apex. So every time I go there, I really have to fight the urge to turn into early, create an early apex and screw up the whole turn. So you really have to wait quite some time, I think about 60% into the turn, until you're finally turning in towards the apex. So let's have a closer look at this turn. So hopefully you carried a lot of speed through turn number one. So you arrive here with a pretty high amount of speed, and in my car I usually have to downshift to second gear. So you come here with high speed, start braking, downshift to second gear, and get ready for this turn. So you were going uphill all the time, now you're going downhill. And getting your brake point right is a really, really, really big challenge. So you really have to find some visible markers on the side of the road, because otherwise you just, if you brake by feeling, you probably always get your brake points wrong. So by here you hopefully have all your braking done, are in second gear, and I stay out about here, and now here's my apex. Now I start turning in for the apex. At this point you can really nicely apply the throttle and get ready to just touch the berm here. One of the challenges or dangers here is if you go too early on the throttle or miss your berm here and you get two wheels off, don't fight the car, go off all the way. You really don't want to have two wheels off and spin out of control. There's just too many walls there, as I already said earlier. Okay, turn 3. Probably one of the challenges with turn 3 for me is that when you approach it, it looks like a 90-degree turn, but if you closely look on this picture, it's more like a 100-degree turn. So if you turn in like you would do it for a 90-degree turn, you would get an apex which is too early, screw up your whole turn, and there you go. So you want to go for a fairly late apex. So let's look a little bit. So usually by here, I'm back in third gear, do some braking, actually do some good braking, but stay in third gear. The apex is around here, so really don't turn in too early. Do a nice late apex and go smooth out here, put in the power and get on the power so you're ready for turn number 4. Turn number 4. When I said earlier in turn number 3 the challenge is that it looks like a 90-degree turn, but it's more than 90 degrees. Turn number 4 is exactly the opposite. It also kind of looks like a 90-degree turn, but it's less than 90 degrees. So in this case you have to actually apex earlier than you usually would. So let's have a look at the turn. So you're coming here from turn number 3, and in my car I stay in third gear. There is no way for me to go up in fourth. Not a lot of braking needed. I basically just tap the brake here and then go for a fairly early apex here and then full on the throttle, because what comes now looks like a turn, but you can actually really treat it like a straight. And by the way, here's a really good opportunity to let other cars pass if you have a little bit of a train behind you. Turn number 5. Well, needless to say that this is also not a 90-degree turn. It's apparently much more than 90 degrees. And what's important about this turn? Number 1, it's slightly banked, so it has actually more traction than you expect it to have, which is obviously good. Number 2, exiting turn number 5, you will enter a pretty long uphill section, which brings you all the way up to the corkscrew. So getting a good exit from this turn is essential, so you can carry as much speed as you possibly can. Also, for your information, if you have a loud car, the permanent installed sound station is here. You will see a little house at the right side of the track. So let's have a little bit closer look at the turn. So in my car, somewhere around here, I'm usually in fourth gear. Do some moderate braking and turn in at about the first turn marker. Again, as I said, late apex here, very late apex. Your apex is around here. So you really want to hit this apex right. If you do it wrong, you bring yourself into all kind of trouble. So make sure you hit the apex right, feet in the throttle, and see that you hit the berm here on the right side of the track. As I said, the track is slightly banked, so it really provides very nice traction.